This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 109.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 109, and today's special guest is Sue B. Zimmerman. Sue is driven to help business owners leverage the power of Instagram to meet and exceed their business goals. Huffington Post named Sue as one of the top 50 women entrepreneurs to follow in 2017, and Sue will be sharing her story and her advice in today's show, so enjoy this episode. Hi, Sue, and welcome to the Extra Paycheck Podcast.
Hey, it's great to be here on a Friday in Boston.
So please tell us a little bit more about yourself and what is that you do as a business.
I like to refer to myself as an online educator instead of expert. Although a lot of people refer to me as the Instagram expert, I like to say I educate every single day, whether it's on my social media platforms or on stage speaking around the world or teaching intimate workshops here in Boston. I love helping other people have success online and getting more noticed online. And the platform that I teach every day is Instagram marketing for business, how to use visual storytelling to attract those people that you're meant to be doing business with.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. And so how did you get into into the actual Instagram business? I would say Instagram marketing.
Yeah. So I, like a lot of your listeners, have always been a small business owner. I've actually had 18 different businesses, and the one that I had before teaching Instagram marketing for the past 5-ish years was having a retail store on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. I live on Cape Cod in the summer, and I had that store for 6 years. And so like many small businesses, I'm always looking for new ways to market my business and attract those people into the door at my store. And so I was actively on Facebook and Twitter, and I used Foursquare. And I noticed this trend with my teenage twin daughters. They were on their phone frequently, but they weren't just like talking or texting. They were scrolling. And I was really curious because when I didn't have my store, I taught social media in and around the Boston suburbs because my store is just a seasonal store. So I asked my twins what they were doing, and Lila and Kira said, "Mom, we are not going to tell you because then you're going to start teaching it." Mm-hmm. So I started looking at it, reading all the blogs and understanding it as a social platform. And after using it in one summer, my sales increased at my store 40%. And so being the educator I decided that I needed to teach other business owners how to have that same kind of success because so many business owners struggle with making money. And I think people overcomplicate things on a regular basis. And so I started speaking. Actually, the first thing I did was I had a podcast interview with Michael Stelzner from Social Media Marketing World. And he loved my interview so much that he invited me to speak on stage 3 years ago. And so I've been at Social Media Marketing World for the past 4 years. 4 years now. And so from that, everything just kind of catapulted into a huge, successful business. I mean, huge is relative. I should say very successful, thriving business.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I have a very specific question at this point because you said that your store sales went up 40% because of Instagram marketing. How exactly do you know that it was Instagram marketing that was responsible for it?
Oh, because at my store, it's a tiny little store. It's 10 by 12 on the outside, and I merchandised a lot it's 10 by 12 on the inside, and I would sell and merchandise on the outside. But we had a little intimate checkout area, and one of the criteria for my employees, I had 7 employees, was to make sure we found out how they found out about my store. Did they live in New Seabury in the resort? Did they get a tweet? Did they find me on Facebook? And we documented it, and I could see that the sales were directly correlated to Instagram people would hold up their phone and say, I want to buy this.
Wow. That's really awesome. And I think it's interesting because, a lot of people, a lot of small businesses, they don't know how to verify that information exactly. They're like, okay, yeah, we're doing Facebook ads, we're doing Instagram, we're doing something else, but there's no way to track where the people are coming from. And you just gave a very, very simple, once again, uncomplicated.
Yeah, simple, uncomplicated, and obviously I'm not using any social tool. It's a small, intimate retail store. This is not going to translate for every business, but talk to your customers. I will tell you, in the online space now, I do free 15-minute calls 3 times a week, and my calendar is completely booked. You can find that on my website, SueBZimmerman.com, on the right-hand side. And I find out part of the process when you sign up for Calendly, which is the tool I use for people to sign up, is I want to know where you found me from. So I hear from speaking on stage, I hear from a workshop, I hear from other people talking about me, from a Facebook ad, from an Instagram ad, from Twitter. So I know YouTube or someone says just searching the internet. I'm like, yes, all my meta tags and SEO is paying off. So, people, it's important to know how people connected with you when you're running a business so that you can know what you need to do more of.
Yeah, totally. Thank you for sharing that. That's very interesting. And I'm sure it's very helpful for many businesses online and offline.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so if we talk about Instagram, since this is your expertise right now, the main, your main thing, do you think that Instagram marketing could apply to every single online or offline business?
Well, I believe that everyone has a visual digital strategy, but if you're missing the basics, of what, meaning the talents of being creative, the basics of what you need to do to be successful on Instagram, you're not going to have success. If you don't have a cohesive aesthetic sense of a feed that is laser focused and very, very niche specific, you will have challenges on Instagram because so many marketers specifically have no idea how to do Instagram correctly. They're just spewing facts that are found on the internet, and it looks like a mishmash of quotes and tips and random stuff gets you random results. So I believe that you can have success for any industry, but the person has to have the skills to have that success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I've seen what you're mentioning exactly, and I've seen that because I have a few different Instagram accounts, and my personal account is, as you said, all over the place. And I don't care for people not following me, but I see a huge difference from accounts that are really, really niche targeted and just a personal account with pictures of what I'm eating or what I'm doing. The people react really differently to those different accounts. Maybe you could give a few suggestions, few very basic guidelines that you see most people miss and don't pay attention to when they're trying to market on Instagram.
Sure. So probably the most common mistake I see is that their avatar is a logo or something random like you have, and it's not a person. Most people want to connect to people on Instagram unless you're a brand that people recognize. So Instagram is a pretty intimate platform with a lot of fabulous visual content. So unless you have any brand equity, putting your logo there because there's over 600 million active users doesn't make sense, in my opinion. Secondly, having a bio that sets you up for success is really important. That means having good SEO in your username. You have 33 characters there, and those words are searchable on Instagram as well as the emoji if you were to use a certain emoji. So if you look at my account, The Instagram Expert, you will see it says Instagram marketing with Sue B. And if you search to B on Instagram, chances are it would come up. Or if you search marketing, I would come up. Or if you search Instagram. So there's SEO in that area. So people miss that all the time, and they think they just need to use the same username that they have, like you did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also, explicitly listing who you are and what you do and something kind of quirky or unique about you or your business might be nice. On my business account, and I have 3 different Instagram accounts that you can link up in the show notes, but the Instagram expert, I have a unique hashtag RSG community for my members of my Ready, Set, Gram community. This is my flagship Instagram course for beginners with under 1,000 followers or new to Instagram or who are not making money on Instagram yet. So I have a hashtag for that specific community. I also make it clear that if you want to follow me, you're going to get updates, tips, tools, and tactics on how to use Instagram. And then, I politely ask people to turn on notifications to learn more Instagram business tips. A lot of people don't know that you can turn on notifications for accounts that give you value. On the top right-hand side, there's 3 little dots. And when you tap that, turn on notifications so that you can engage with the accounts that you want to be actively seen on. Now, that leads me to another point, which is actively engaging on accounts is one of the most important things to do if you're on Instagram. So a lot of businesses don't have time to do this or don't think they have time to do this. But the more you engage on other people's content, your comment shows up in the comment feed and people start to see familiar faces in all the right places. And so you might get the attention of someone else who's left a comment. It's kind of like on a blog post, when you leave a comment on a blog post and you look and see some of the other comments that people have written, if you read one that's really profound, you might be like, I should check this person out. That was such a smart thing that they said. So by showing up in the comments, not just liking, but literally reading a comment, writing a comment is, in my opinion, gold. That's the gold of Instagram. Real, authentic comments. None of these spammy, makeshift comments.
Yeah. Thanks. That's great advice. And the first point that you mentioned is very interesting. When you said that, you recommend using your own picture and not your logo or something for Instagram, because, many of us do exactly that for our websites or blogs. But for some reason, I feel like many of us do complete opposite on social media. We're trying to, push our brand and not ourselves. Yeah.
And so I think that the accounts that have the biggest challenge are the social media accounts. Social media managers are marketers. They're just all about like quotes and putting their logo on a quote or quoting Gary Vaynerchuk or Seth Godin, or it's like randomness everywhere. And so there's no sense of branding. There's no sense of style. There's no sense of, like, I like to say Instagram is a digital magazine. So just like when you go out and you buy a magazine, you buy it with the promise of knowing what's inside of it is what they're promising on the cover. And on Instagram, when your bio is written a certain way and you state that you do a certain thing and you don't show that content in your feed and there's a disconnect, you're not going to get the right followers. The same is true if you're going to be doing Instagram stories. Everything literally has to match up to your brand.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's great information, Sue. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And so I'd like to go a little bit back about, your personal story. So you said you've owned a lot of different businesses by now. So when was the last time you had a quote unquote job, a 9-to-5?
Never. I've never worked. I've had my own business since I was 13.
Wow.
I had my first $1 million business when I was 22.
That's amazing. Could you give us just a little bit of an idea what kind of businesses you've owned since you were 13?
Yeah. So 13, I was selling hand-painted barrettes, which are clips that you put in your hair. I'm very artistic and creative, so I always like to paint and make things. And I was selling them at recess, even though I was not supposed to be. And then I went to college. I have a degree in nutrition. And I never used it, but I moved to Virginia Beach, Virginia, and the job offer I had fell through. So I started doing what I loved, which was hand painting clothing. I hand painted barrettes when I was little. I hand painted clothing, and I was selling hand painted clothing off of a push cart. And I turned that passion project into a real business very, very quickly because I was painting whatever people wanted. But then I started painting boxer shorts, and that's where the gold mine happened. Everyone at the time, people were not wearing boxer shorts as outerwear. And I just hit a trend, and I knew it. I'm very good at spotting trends and opportunities before it goes mainstream. So I was waitressing at night and hand painting during the day. And then I sold so many boxer shorts that I started silk screening them. And then I started selling them wholesaling them at all the trade shows, like in New York and Dallas and Chicago and California. And I grew that to $1 million business at a very young age, selling Bart Simpsons, getting the license for Disney. And that kind of success gave me the mindset that I could always do what I wanted and figure things out. And so, that's what I've been doing. So from there, I sold that business, moved back to Boston, married my husband, started a family, did a lot of different businesses. I taught art classes. I came up with a craft item. I was on QVC selling that, got asked back because we did so well. And I just have been able to morph and seize opportunities as I've been presented to them. And I know when to stop doing something, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't know when to stop, and they're in debt and they don't know how to get out. But I'm really good at knowing when there's another opportunity. And I like change and I like new opportunities. So as soon as I saw that Instagram was a social platform built off of visual content, I decided to do that. I decided that I want to teach that.
That's an incredible story, Sue.
Thank you.
That's very interesting. And now what's intriguing me, so most of the businesses you've had were kind of either with tangible products, or you were teaching, art classes or whatever, things that are more easy to understand for most people. But then you're jumping into, marketing on Instagram, which for a lot of people sounds like, what? Marketing Instagram? What are you talking about? Don't I just post pictures of my cats there? So how did you make that big switch to, this online marketing, not marketing platform, but the social media platform, and actually teaching how to use it? It's really big difference from typical or regular businesses like brick and mortar and so on.
I just did a YouTube video, Instagram, on my Sue B. Zimmerman YouTube channel. It's all about how to have success on Instagram if you're a service-based business. Is that specifically what you're asking?
No, I'm asking what pushed you to do that, to take the decision to actually, get out of, let's say, owning a store full time and teaching something that, let's call it a little bit obscure, something as as like in Instagram marketing.
Because I learned about online marketing from going to a conference, and I learned that if I put myself online and started teaching something of value to a global audience, that I could literally have an amazingly successful business that wasn't trading time for dollars. And that's what I've been building for the past 5 years. And it's true, you can, but it doesn't come without a cost of putting in the work.
Yeah, of course. And so what are you planning for the future? Do you think you'll stick with Instagram marketing as a business for yourself for a while, or are you already thinking of switching to something else, maybe a new platform?
No, this is where I'm staying, because I think Instagram's here to stay, and there's so much growth happening every day, and there's always new updates. I think of Instagram now as a 4-layer social platform. It's the feed, which is the most challenging for people. It's the Instagram stories, which I love doing and have a lot of success with. I get almost 2,000 people viewing each clip of my story. It's the Instagram Live, where you can go live on Instagram, which is not recommended for people that don't have a strategy of what they're doing. I'm very strategic with when I go live there. And then it's also the direct message feature now that they've just updated, where you can send messages that disappear. So there's 4 different aspects of teaching how to use Instagram, and it keeps me very, very busy. Yeah,
that's great, and that makes a lot of sense. And so I'd like to ask you a little bit more about your actual training. Maybe you could pitch that to our listeners.
Yeah, so I have a course called Ready, Set, Gram, as I mentioned, and it's for beginners. And you can find that at subizimmerman.com/RSG. And this is for anyone really looking to up their Instagram strategy for their business, be a member of an amazingly collaborative Facebook group, my VIP group, Ready, Set, Graham group. We have over 600 people in that group now, which is awesome. Every Sunday, I go live there for a half an hour teaching updates from the week and talking about my blog for the week. And I give shout outs and I give audits. It's just a really awesome group. So I'm really proud of that group. But for those of you that don't quite have the funds to invest and you still want to learn more about Instagram, I've got a great group called Instagram Results for Business. And we can hook that up in the show notes. You guys can all request to join that group. There's 6,000 people in that group, a little over 6,000 people in that group now. So that's growing. But those are people that are just not quite ready for the investment, but still want to learn more about Instagram. So that might be a good place for your listeners. And then what I like to say whenever I do a podcast interview is to invite you all to come on over and say hi on my accounts, either my personal Instagram account, Sue B. Zimmerman, or my business account, The Instagram Expert, where I almost have 50,000 followers. I think that's going to probably happen within this next week, which is super exciting. And my team account is really pretty awesome, SBZ Team. You should definitely check that out. But what I want you to do is come on over and say hello and say that you found me from listening to this podcast. Tag me at Sue B. Zimmerman or at the Instagram Expert, and I'll come over and I'll check you out and say hello to you. And you guys can find me everywhere online. And another great resource is my YouTube channel if you want to keep learning.
Mm-hmm. And I'll link, I'll put up all of those links in the show notes, of course, so it'll be easier for people to find those communities, to find the accounts that you just mentioned.
Okay, awesome.
And so I have a few more questions for you.
Sure.
Here. So what would be your biggest advice to beginner entrepreneurs? Since you've started so many different businesses by now, what is, in your opinion, this most important thing that people should pay attention to when they're thinking of starting a business, or when they're maybe already starting one, but they're just starting?
Yeah, so I'm all about progress, not perfection, and momentum is everything. So put your idea out there, talk in Facebook groups, get together with friends physically, ask questions, ask them if they think your idea is good. If not, why? Get feedback and go to that next conference. If you can't afford to fly somewhere, there's one in your local area. Go to a meetup, keep networking, keep hanging around with people that lift you higher. Get all the assholes out of your life and don't hang out with them. Just hang out with people that make you feel good and validate what your idea is or your product or your service. I am all about progress, not perfection. And the reason I'm so successful is because I don't sweat the little small stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. And so maybe then you could share something like, starting a website or starting something on the technical side of the business that you don't know how to do and you don't even know where to begin with it. So those are the little things that often hold us back. How do you deal with those? Yeah,
so I know a lot of people that just simply started their business on Instagram. My daughter is one of them. She has an account called Fresh, Fit, and Fearless. She makes thousands of dollars selling a little ebook that she created about being vegan and having healthy recipes. You can validate your idea first before worrying about the website and expense of a website. Create a Facebook group around your idea and invite people that you think would be interested to see if there's a community that you can build. Because honestly, building an authentic, engaging community is everything. They are the ones that will buy your products or services if you give free value over time with no expectations of receiving something in return.
That's great advice. So, but I have a question for you on this one. So, a Facebook group, what would you suggest doing? Because in my opinion, if you want to start a group, you have to invite people in that group to make it active. But let's say most of my friends aren't interested in that business or whatever I'm trying to create there. So how do you find the people?
So they shouldn't be in the group. Well, I'll tell you what I just did on this podcast is I invited people that are interested in Instagram marketing to join the group. And I'm sure people will ask to join the group from listening to this. So you've got to shout it from the rooftops. You are in charge of marketing your business. No one is in charge of finding you. So how are you going to stay top of mind? How are you going to amplify, promote, broadcast who you are and what you do on a regular basis so people know about your products and your gifts and your services? Mm-hmm. You need to just make it known and say it. And maybe on your podcast, you should say at the end, okay, you guys, you just heard from my guest, Sue B. Zimmerman, the Instagram expert. I want to invite you, if you are an entrepreneur that X, Y, and Z, then my Facebook group just might be the place for you. Come on over and request to join. It's that easy.
Yeah. Thanks for explaining that. And see, once again, we overcomplicate things. It's, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Just do it. Don't overthink it. No one's going to fire you if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's true. And Sue, I guess one of the last questions here, maybe you could share, something negative, rather a dark moment in your career as an entrepreneur, because for a lot of people, all they see is the bright side. They see all the success coming from people like you, the successful stories, that everything's awesome, but they don't realize that it's not always as bright everywhere, especially, behind the curtain of our business. Maybe you have a story that you could share, something that maybe held you back, or something that happened to your business when you thought it was the end of it all, but yet you overcame that roadblock and kept on succeeding.
Nothing has ever held me back. That's why I'm a true entrepreneur. I just do what I feel and know is best to live a full life. So I don't have roadblocks. I push through. I just have been that entrepreneur. So I know that might sound trite and somewhat pretentious, but it comes with my DNA. My dad was a business owner. I was exposed to his business as a young girl, and I got to see firsthand the value of what it means to have really good customer service. And I just have instilled a lot of his principles in the way that I run my business, because at the end of the day, guess what? There's hundreds of people teaching Instagram marketing. And so why are you going to pick me? I hope that you pick me because I am true to my word. I am an online educator. I do have proof that people have success from the way I teach. So people have to do back their research on you and your business before investing in it. So you've got to make sure that everything is buttoned up online and everything is cohesive and on point with your business and your brand. And by the way, your brand is not your logo or your logo colors. Your brand is literally everything that you do online, how you show up, your core values, who you hang out with. And so people scrutinize you, especially when you are very visible online. So you just want to make sure that you show up in the best way. I had shit happen to me along the way for sure. I had an employee that embezzled a lot of money from me. And I just chalked it up as a learning experience. Mm-hmm. I just did more background research when I hired people.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that. And Sue, I must admit, you're one of the really rare guests on the show that, didn't share this big part of the business where everything went completely wrong and, you wanted to quit everything and go get a job. It's really, really rare that I hear that.
Yeah. And I know that. And I know that I'm not normal, but that's what makes me me. And that's, I am a true entrepreneur. I always have figured out my next move. I've always been able to figure out how to make money doing what I love. The money piece is not a challenge for me. And I know it's a challenge for a lot of other people. And so I do coach people a lot. I have small group coaching. I don't just teach Instagram. I do a lot more than teach Instagram. I have a lot of different vertical revenue streams. So, being a business coach is what I'm most proud of, because I help people make money. And I love working with people globally. I've got clients in Dubai. I've got clients all over. It's fun. The minute you put yourself online and share your gifts and your products with the world in a big ass way, the more money you can make doing what you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally true. And thank you so much for sharing that once again.
You're welcome. Great being here.
All right, Sue. So one last time, what is that one resource that people should go to learn more about you, connect with your business, and so on?
Yeah, I want to give your listeners a gift, and this is where everyone should go right now. Pull over if you're driving, get a pencil if you don't have one, open up your phone and write down SueBZimmerman.com/guide and download my free 20-page Instagram strategy guide that I created just for you so that you can get going the right way for your business on Instagram.
All right, Sue, thank you so much for offering this gift to the listeners. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your strategies, your tips, ideas, and thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Extra Paycheck Podcast. For show notes, head over to extrapodcast.com/109. This is where I'll be sharing more details, links, resources, and other things mentioned in today's episode. Also, head over to extrapodcast.com/iTunes in order to subscribe to the show. If you haven't already, please do leave a rating and a review, which will help the show tremendously. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.